Welcome to Stream Detroit, the show about cool people doing cool shit. I, Jeff Wagner, am your co-host, alongside Sean Yelda and Mike McClintock. Please welcome to our show, PJ Jacokes of Go Comedy Improv Theater.
Welcome to Stream Detroit, the show for cool people doing cool things to build Detroit. I'm Mike McClintock with Sean Yelda today and Jeff Wagner. This is the show for people doing cool shit all around Detroit. With us today is our special guest, PJ Jacokes, the producer and co-owner of Go Comedy Improv Theater in Ferndale, which is Detroit's home for the best of improv and sketch comedy. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Great. So, sketch comedy. I love sketch comedy.
Me too.
What? How does one decide that sketch comedy is the way to go? You're gonna start a business and make your whole life on sketch comedy.
You know, it's not so much a decision as much as it just happens. For us, we got real lucky with a guy who was interested in opening a theater. The way it worked out, it's something that I always thought would be really incredible to do, but didn't think would ever happen. And then one of my former students showed up and was like, "Hey, you want to open something?" So, yeah, but it's expensive. And he's like, "Well, I'll put the money behind it. Let's see what we can do." So,
So you kind of improv'd it.
It's my entire life is improvisation. I just say yes and figure out how to make it work.
Really? Okay. Well, that's good stuff. It's kind of like what we're doing here on this podcast.
Yeah.
We're coming live from Grand Circus. It almost might look like we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
But we really don't. We have no idea. PJ probably understands that because he's been sitting here for an hour and a half while we tried to figure out how to hook all this stuff up. So I think we picked the best day and the best time, though, to do a podcast from Grand Circus.
Yeah.
Because right outside our window is the beginning and the groundbreaking for M1 rail, which means approximately 15 feet from the window over here is a large jackhammer connected to a very large machine and several things that are scraping pavement off the ground. So if you hear that, it's a momentous occasion here in Detroit with the literal groundbreaking happening while this podcast is happening. I don't know, does that sound like it might be?
And a few window breakings as well.
There's a couple of window breakings across the street. I don't know if they did that on purpose at the Whitney building where they're building the Aloft Hotel, but they definitely broke a window.
They had the look after the window fell out. They had the look like, okay. No one was on the sidewalk below, so
that's good.
We're just gonna sweep this up.
Right. And they are nice windows too. I imagined that of all the things they said, they don't care if it costs $100 million, just don't break the windows on the first floor. And that's what that guy looked like.
They went over budget on the first minute of the first day.
Right. It's a total disaster. So what's new now at Go Comedy? What's coming up?
Well, coming up August 3rd through 10th is the 4th annual Detroit Improv Festival.
Oh.
This year is the biggest one we've ever done. We have, I think, 60 improv troops from across North America, from 14 states and 2 cities in Canada. And we have
Canadians in?
What's that?
You let Canadians in?
We let them in. They do a good job. In fact, some of the best troops we have are from Toronto. But we also have a number of celebrities coming this year. Fred Willard from Best in Show and a million other things will be in town. Keegan-Michael Key from Key and Peele. Mary Beth Monroe from Workaholics. We've got 3 cast members from Saturday Night Live.
Really?
Yeah. 2 featured players, Tim Robinson and Michael Bryan. And then Rachel Dratch are all coming this year. So it's exciting. Yeah, it's the biggest one we've done yet. And it should be, it's right around the corner. So we're.
And what happens at this? So.
It's 7 days of improv. There's venues. The Redford Theater is opening night. Then Planet Ant in Hamtramck. The Bowl YMCA, which is just around the corner that you can't see on a podcast.
Right. We can imagine.
Yeah, imagine it. And then in Ferndale, Go Comedy, the Ringwald Theater, and the Rust Belt Market are all of our venues. And each show has 3 or 4 different troops. And each year's gotten bigger and better. And we've had to turn away more troops this year than ever before just because we get so many submissions and we only have so many spots. So it's a good place to be in. And I am as excited for it as I am exhausted for it, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
I bet. When we talk about sketch comedy and improv, it seems like, aside from the obvious, Saturday Night Live comedy aspects of it, the Second City and things, there's more to it than that, though, isn't there? I mean, it seems like it's almost a way to, it's like a really cool kind of a version of Toastmasters, it seems sometimes. Is that, am I completely off base on that?
Not at all. I mean, improv classes are, I can't recommend them highly enough, and not just because it helps put my kid through college, but no, I stand by improv classes will change your life, because it teaches self-confidence, it teaches you to trust yourself, it teaches you to work with others. With Toastmasters, it's very, and I'm sure they do a fine job, but it's very focused.
Probably.
But we kind of focus on a lot of different things with the improv classes, and we get half of our students are there to be performers, and the other half are teachers and lawyers and people that give presentations. It's people that kind of want to be faster on their feet.
Yeah.
And many of the students that we get end up falling in love with it and end up trying to do more.
Do you ever do trust fall activities?
No. We, there are some improv classes that do, but ours are not one of them.
Right, because my friends, they like to improv trust falls when no one's paying attention, and it's always okay until no one catches them and they hit the kitchen counter.
Sure.
Right.
And you're like 6'5". I mean, you've got a lot of trust
Sure.
to
That's
fall.
a lot to catch.
Yeah.
I don't do it, but I'm just saying that if people are going to do a trust fall, I'm not going to catch them.
All right.
So he can trust you for that. At least you're honest about it. So what does a lawyer wind up doing, and a lawyer and a teacher? Because to me, that's what I'm most interested in, because I'm not really a funny person, and I harbor no illusions about my Saturday Night Live career. It's been like in a tank for like 2 years. I'm 41 now.
Right.
By the time I got to 39, I realized it probably wasn't going to happen. But, what can somebody who's, like you said, wants to be faster on their feet, how does that work? You take like a 10-week class or something like that? Or?
Yeah, the classes are all the same. I mean, whether you want to be on stage or whether you need it for your profession, it's still the same program. With, shoot, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah. Did you get back for 1 second?
I don't know. We should probably take an improv class.
Just open up a can of Faygo Red Pop, roll it down the street,
Right.
and run the other way as fast as you can. No one will know.
No, so what I was going to say is, we teach that comedy is the byproduct. We put people in funny situations. We the games that we use have enough gimmicks that the comedy is going to happen. So whether you're funny or not is almost irrelevant. And so the people that are there for their profession, everyone is funny whether they believe it or not. But we're not trying to teach you to be funny. We're trying to teach you to trust yourself and to be more poised, and you know that if you mess up, it's okay. I mean, the idea of learning to deal with failure is something that we talk about, because in an improv show, you may have 100 different moments on stage and they're all made up on the spot. They're not all going to be great.
Right.
Some will be downright terrible, but learning that that's going to happen and it's going to be okay, and you go right back out there and try again. The more you do that in little increments, you build that confidence. So when you're in big picture situations, even if it goes terribly, you know that you can bounce back. And I've had a handful of public speaking moments myself where things went about as poorly as they could, but you learn that it's okay, and there's always other opportunities, and you bounce back.
So I have seen you speak publicly.
Yes, you have.
You probably don't remember, but you spoke at TEDx once.
Well, I remember that.
Yeah, and I was sitting in the audience next to somebody who I had no idea who he was. And I would think I was making fun of the type of a person who speaks at a TEDx event. And you were too. And then he got up and went on stage and gave a talk. And then I was just left there to figure out what just happened.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? You probably don't.
We've talked about it since then, but as an improviser, you learn to just kind of say yes and make it work. And I wasn't going to get all self-righteous about it. And hopefully go up there and change your mind a little bit.
You did, for sure. No, I really wasn't making that much fun of people.
You were so rude.
I know, I'm terrible.
Talking about their clothes. I mean, look at you now.
I know. And
Right.
you don't like my clothes?
Oh, no, they're lovely.
Oh, I thought so.
They're lovely, yeah.
My Technicolor raincoat.
Are you going to go do hockey announcing after this?
You know what? That's the second reference
Really?
to Don Cherry I've had with this coat on. Does it really look Don Cherry? Because if it does, I'm happy.
It's a tame
It's a
Don
tame
Cherry,
version of Don Cherry.
yeah,
Maybe I
it's-
need a bow tie.
What? So PJ, as someone who's interested in taking a class with you, what's the progression that you would go through from a beginner's class to an advanced class?
Well, so our program's about 2 years long. We have an intro program and an advanced program. Each are 4 semesters long. The intro program focuses a lot on improv games and exercises. So if you've ever seen like Whose Line Is It Anyway, it's a lot more game based. So the scenes that you do are more, they have a gimmick to them already. So you don't have to, like I said, the comedy is kind of a byproduct of already being in a fun situation. Excuse me. The advanced program though focuses a lot more on just scene work, where it's your job to bring the game to a scene, and we focus on long form. So it's a lot more storytelling, but it is a lot of fun. I mean, the intro program, for the people that want something professionally out of it, I mean that's those 4 terms are the meat of that. And then as you get into the long form program, it is it's a lot more performance based, a lot more artistic, but it's still a lot of fun.
Can we play a game right now?
Sure.
Can we get Sean to improv? Because he talks too much. We're trying to get him to shut up.
Hey, Sean, take it easy.
No, you can take it easy. You guys taking it easy?
Pretty easy.
Why should I take it easy?
Yeah, well, we're going to play a game or ask more questions.
Let's play a game.
All right.
Okay. Everybody? All right. Everybody game. So there's a game called 1001, and it goes like this. You get a suggestion of an object. So can I have an object?
Yes, I have one here.
No, I mean, I just a verbal object.
Okay. Cherry.
A cherry?
Yes.
Okay, so there's a setup, and it goes like this. 1001, in this case, cherries, walk into a bar, and the bartender says, I'm sorry, I can't serve 1001 cherries. And the 1001 cherries say, why not? And then the bartender delivers some kind of punchline. So I'll start. 1001 cherries, walk into a bar, the bartender says, I'm sorry, I can't serve 1001 cherries. The 1001 cherries ask, why not? And the bartender says, because you're the pits. And then laughter would follow that traditionally. But in a class, it's also, we teach everyone to support. I mean, because even if the joke doesn't hit,
Right.
someone just created something on the spot out of nothing in front of a room full of people. So, we support their attempt even. And sometimes the jokes are brilliant, and sometimes they fall pretty flat. But either way, someone made something up on the spot and performed in front of a room of people. So, we celebrate that, and it gives them more comfort as they go through other things. So, I guess, Mike, you're up.
Because you're already popped.
Good. Jeff?
Because you're so red.
Yay. What's the question again?
So it's 1001 cherries walk into a bar. Bartender says, I'm sorry, I cannot serve 1001 cherries. 1001 cherries ask, why not? And the bartender says,
Because we're already being served.
awesome.
I have a better line now.
Okay, good, go.
You guys rolled in here too deep.
Nice.
We don't serve tarts like you.
Nice.
Hey, aren't you guys a little saucy to be in here this late at night?
No gangs allowed.
No gangs allowed.
Yeah.
And then, so that's pretty much it. Then
That's
you
pretty
would
much-
get a
okay.
new object, and you would go from there.
Just
But
throw another object.
that's what we call a line game, where it's one person at a time. Most of what we do is kind of scenic, where it's two people doing a scene on stage. But it's called a line game or defending the line game, because whether or not you have something, when it's your turn, you have to go. And sometimes you'll be surprised what you say when you aren't ready to say anything.
Yeah, I'm already surprised.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So how did you get, started with Go Comedy? I mean, logistically, it's like, I understand you had the idea and the friend. How does somebody go about, what's the backstory on that? How does it get started?
Well, I mean, I guess it probably goes back to my first improv class, which actually happened like I don't know, 200 feet up that way.
Oh, yes.
Back when the second city was still in Detroit. But I was 18, 19, and I took an improv class just to kind of loosen up. I was in a band and loved playing music, but was so awkward on stage that I didn't look up from my instrument ever. So I figured I would take this class, kind of get out of my shell, and very quickly fell in love with it. So I was at Second City for about 10 years. I started from a student, and I worked my way up to head instructor of their classes, as well as the stage manager for the main stage. I was in the touring company there. I mean, I really basically did everything you possibly could do in that building. And then when it moved out to Novi, it was time for me to move on. I'd been there for a long time. I kind of, had my fill. So I had sent an email out that was like, "Hey, I'm directing the show. It's the last thing I'm doing here. So if you want to come out and see it, that'd be cool." And that's when my former student reached out to me about opening Go Comedy. And we took about almost a year from when we first formed our LLC to when the building actually opened to get the whole thing set up.
It took a year?
Just about, yeah. I mean,
how'd you find the building?
Well, we knew we wanted to be in Ferndale. It's got a strong arts community. It's a strong community to begin with. I've lived in Ferndale for, at this point, almost 20 years.
Right.
So we went around looking at different buildings, and the one we found used to be a Secretary of State that closed in 2006.
Well, that makes sense.
And we actually have a sign in the lobby that says no Secretary of State visitors since. And I believe June 29th of this year was the last time we had someone come by looking for it, even though it's now been closed for almost 8 years.
Right. Do you ever just give out people's driver's licenses just to make them stand in line for an hour?
We thought about it. In fact, the patch of carpet that was left behind where people had to stand for their photo ID, we kept that for a real long time, and then realized that it wasn't really anything fun to do with it, so we got rid of it eventually. But
right.
But yeah, so we get people stopping by all the time. But yeah, it's a real nice space. It's about 100-seat theater. It's a little bit bigger than a black box, but nothing too crazy.
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
Cherries.
And go
Cherries.
back. Huh?
Cherries.
No, I'm gonna go back to the classes though, real quick, because I wanted to ask to see if there were any case studies you could bring up, like students that kind of just really benefited from the class and and took it to the profession.
Oh yeah, all the time. Case studies is probably more academic than I've got for you, but
Sure.
I've been teaching improv now for 14 years. And some of the people that I've taught have gone on to do things in LA and Chicago, and some just kind of go on to live happier lives. And frankly, the latter is kind of what makes me happier. Yeah, we have tons of students. If you're shy, it's a great way to kind of break out of that mold. I was very, very shy when I first took my first improv class, and I still am, but it makes it a lot easier to kind of go out into the world and interact when you trust yourself and what you're going to say.
Right.
Like Nathan Hughes, who's one of the co-founders of Detroit Labs, which is, I think, right behind us.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, he's awesome. But he went through our full program. Jen Bloomer, who used to work at that desk over there. Right. She went through our full program, and now she's even a teacher at Go Comedy.
Cool.
But yeah, like the Young Lawyers of Southeastern Michigan group does a workshop with us once or twice a year. But they've seen the value in what we can do, even just in a 3-hour workshop, let alone a 2-year program.
Does that help them in the courtroom?
Absolutely. Yeah, if you're comfortable on your feet, if you're not nervous if someone throws a curveball at you, it makes it a lot easier to bounce back.
So you got workshops. You mentioned workshops. You got workshops the last Saturday of every month.
Yeah, we do a different. It's called. It has a tricky title of Last Saturday Workshop, but we have different teachers, and they each month they kind of pick what they want to focus on. So the one we just had this past weekend was a character workshop, but we've done auditioning workshops. voice workshops. I mean, pretty much anything that you can use. But those workshops tend to be more geared towards performance. They're not usually like a beginner workshop. But at the Improv Festival, the workshops that are available there are kind of for people of any skill level.
Okay. So the one that's coming up is characters with Joe Hingelberg. What's that going to be about?
Just different ways to manufacture characters in the scene. In improv, there's no props, there's no costumes. It's just people in chairs. So you have to be able to pull different characters out, and the more detailed you can kind of make them, the richer the scene will be. So that workshop is just kind of different ways to create those characters, and sometimes it's through physicality, sometimes it's through voice, sometimes it's through frame of reference. There's lots of different ways to kind of like spark those characters, and then once they get going in the scene, it gives you more to work with.
Okay, cool.
Have you ever just ran into anybody on the street that had taken a class from you, and then just completely the entire time that you're hanging out with them on the street, they're still in character? Like, hey, how are you? Be like,
no.
That's your character?
that is my character.
How you doing?
Yeah.
I'm sure those people are out there, but I luckily haven't run into them yet.
Wait till we go to lunch.
So you've been in quite a few videos that you feature on our website. One with Eminem in it.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing this is when he came back after 4 years of not being around, and the video is called Where Have You Been? Could you describe that video a little bit?
Well, sure. Yeah, it was 2 or 3 albums ago, but he did this video for MTV. It was just kind of showing where he had been. So it was a couple albums ago, and it was just like it was the fictional telling of what he had been up to in the time since his last album. And I got cast to play his principal in the video. It was cool. It was funny because before I got to meet him on set, his handlers were like, "All right, listen, you don't talk to him. You don't approach him. Like, you leave him be."
Really?
And I was, "Oh, all right, cool. That's how celebrities work. I don't know." But when as soon as he came in to film, he was like, "Hey, man, I'm Marshall. How's it going?" Like, he was just super, normal, which was cool. Like, he was just a straightforward guy. And in the shot, at some point, like, he gives me a hall pass that he made up, and I crumble it up, and I was supposed to throw it away, but I missed and I hit him in the face.
Yeah, I saw that.
And for a moment, I was like, "Oh my God, Eminem is gonna kill me."
He has people to do
but
that.
he improvised. Like, he went with it, and it ended up working out real well. That's what made it into the shot. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you changed his life in that film.
Yeah, maybe I did.
Did they produce that video better than this podcast?
It was MTV, so they had a little bit of money behind it.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that what it takes? It takes money to produce these
helps,
things and make it work?
Yeah, and I'm just going to talk a little bit more about some more videos. You got the Hungry Howie's commercials. I especially like the Super Bleep one.
Oh yeah.
That was for the Super Bowl. That was a Super Bowl commercial.
Yeah. I've been doing this for the past 5 years. We always do at least 1, if not 2, Super Bowl spots. It's cool. Are
they scripted?
They're mostly scripted. I mean, the crew that does them, which is Daniel Bryan and Associates out of Rochester Hills, they're really good about letting us play with the script. So the scripts come funny. Like, they're good scripts, but they let us, play around a little bit once we kind of get the main gist down. So. So there's always some element of improv. But there's one right now where I bite into a banana that was, we'd finished the script, it went well, and they were like, "Oh, well, let's try something out." So I improvised that, and it ended up being what they used in the spot.
Nice.
Very Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah.
It's a delicious sponge cake.
And then how did it feel to do the Ford Expedition safety dance?
Oh, you went deep, my friend.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think we found out his role. He is the deep diver of
Right.
research associate over reporter Sean.
So that video is one of my favorite things I've ever done. Because like I said, I was in music before I was in comedy, and with that I got to shoot a music video, which had always been a dream, and do it in one of the goofiest, just dumb characters. Did you watch the video?
Yeah, I watched it. You were a ranger or something, and singing and dancing about safety with the Ford Expedition.
Yeah.
And you had backup dancers, a bunch of children.
Yep.
And I forget who played the music. Was there like a DJ or something, a producer behind it?
I mean, it was at this point, that was a long time ago.
Right.
But
Did you watch it?
Did I watch it?
The video?
I've seen it.
Oh.
Yeah, it was guys, probably 10 years ago.
Yeah, you looked much younger.
Yeah, thanks.
No, not too much younger. Not too much.
I don't like him. No, but
He does good research though, so just humor him.
But yeah, it was a parody of Safety Dance, and there's a part at the beginning where it's like S S S S S S S S A. And when I got to the studio, and we recorded the song before we recorded the video, but the producer for the song was like, "Oh, thank God, I couldn't figure out how to make that echo work," and I just came in and sang it with the echo, which sounded terrible, but like in the best kind of goofy way. So
Right, yeah.
yeah.
It worked with it. It really, caught my attention for the video. Yeah, did you get any response from Ford for that video?
Oh, it was 4-4. I mean,
it was 4-4?
Yeah, they produced it.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, no, it was part of a whole campaign they did.
That's what I was curious about.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Was that out on TV?
It was all online.
Okay.
But when they launched that version of the expedition, they had it was like a scavenger hunt and a whole bunch of different stuff that they released. So
Cool.
yeah, we filmed a ton of stuff for it, but that video is kind of the pinnacle for me of goofy corporate.
Yeah. I especially like the Heinz ketchup commercial.
Oh yeah.
Could you explain that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, it was. Heinz released a different type of ketchup packet that could either be squeezed or dipped into, and so the whole thing was me in my car after lunch or during lunch, like trying to eat quickly while on a conference call, and they use the guy that does the NFL voiceovers. So I was talking about how great the packets were, but it was just me moving my mouth while this very, very golden voiced announcer was actually saying, what it was that I was doing.
The NFL Films guy?
Yeah.
Are you allowed to approach him?
No. I never even met him. It was done.
Oh, I see.
Probably in the studio basement. I assume that's how all those guys work.
Right, kind of like this.
Yeah. Just without the jackhammers.
It adds a little ambiance to it. So, August 3rd through 10th, is anything happening? Anything going on?
Well, the Improv Festival?
I think that's what it's called, the Improv Festival.
Yeah.
How's that? How do you get tickets to that?
It's DetroitImprovFestival.org.
DetroitImprovFestival.org.
Yep, and you can get tickets online or you can get them at the door. But they're selling super well.
There's a lot of venues for that, right? It's not just one place.
Yeah. No, it's all over town.
Wherever you're at, you can find some improv comedy the week of August 3rd through 10th.
Yep. Yeah, so the show is the 3rd through the 9th, and then there's workshops on the 10th.
Okay.
And then at like 4 o'clock on the 10th, I go to sleep and I wake up on Tuesday.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, it's a long week.
This is a big week for you.
Yeah.
A lot of work to do.
Yeah, I'll put all the info discussed here on the website.
On the show notes.
Yeah, exactly.
PJ Jacokes, the producer and co-owner of Go Comedy.
It's a well-run machine.
Yeah, we're doing a great job of producing this. It's almost like we've done this before, but we're going to edit all this out, so it won't really matter.
Yeah, I know.
So thanks. Thanks so much for coming on. We really appreciate you coming down. We appreciate you sitting here for an hour and a half while we go back home and get all the equipment that we forgot. And set all this stuff up. I think we got it all plugged in together. Hopefully it's not a complete waste of time.
You'll have everyone's voice but mine.
Right, exactly. We'll just, I'll just overdub it. I can remember what it said. It'll be fun.
Well, improv sounds like this.
Yep. All right, thanks for joining us on the Stream Detroit show, the show for cool people doing cool shit in Detroit. Thanks to our guest, PJ Jacokes, the producer and co-owner of Go Comedy Improv Theater in Ferndale. I'm Mike McClintock.
Sean Yaldo.
Jeff Wagner.
We're going to go to lunch.
We gotta do it. We gotta do PJ.
What? I did.
He led with me.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
All right. We'll just leave it like that as it is.
I can't hear things out of these headphones.
This outro is not going to work. We should just leave it like this.
Copy that.
It's in the middle of a sentence.
We are Stream Detroit, the show about cool people doing cool shit. I'm your co-host, Jeff Wagner, alongside Sean Yalda and Mike McClintock. Please subscribe to this show at streamdetroit.com and visit us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Until next time, thank you.